Hello everyone, and welcome to this video, which is in our Great Engine Game series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler, and we're taking a look at a great game between Leela-Zero and Komodo Dragon TCEC Season 22 Sub-Final Bonus, Game 81. So I chose this game because of a game I played in 2013 against the Scottish Grandmaster Jonathan Rowson. He played this move Knight D7, which is very unusual. Well, I mean, I got a very good position, but the position was very difficult and very complicated. And well, it was a rapid event, and I remember that in this position, having manoeuvred so much, and yeah, running short of time, I just decided, well, whatever. I'm just going to go Knight H5 and go for it. And well, I mean, it was unclear, it was winning, it was completely lost for quite a few moves as well. In the end, I managed to get through, and I remember after the game, Michael Adams giving me a wry smile and saying, with a little chuckle, "Well done, Matty." So it was a bit of a crazy game, really, but it seemed like a nice little game for the Sufi. What's the opening? Well, it's a Nimzo-Indian, my favourite Rubinstein variation that I played very much for most of my professional career. I had a little bit of a go at 4 Queen C2, and also played F3 a little bit recently, in particular in a match against David Howell. I experimented with Knight F3 and G3, but this has been my mainstay. And now a slightly unusual move, C5. In modern times, castles has been much more common. But after c5, I go knight e2, and the idea is now to play a3 and to win the bishop pair without allowing my pawns to be doubled. So c takes d4, e takes d4, and now black's got a few possibilities. Both, well, Topalov, Nigel Short, Predrag Nikolic all play castles, which was pretty sharp. But I've also had d5 a few times as well. And after c5, we get knight e4, bishop d2, takes. And, well, black's got the two bishops, wasted a little bit of time with knight e4 takes d2, but often in these queen's pawn positions, it's worth spending a little bit of time just to exchange off a set of minor pieces and give yourself more space, ease your cramped position. However, with that time that black spent, well, white's got quite a nice queenside space advantage, and you're going to play a3 and b4 and just try and increase that. Well, Jonathan played bishop a5, slightly mysterious, a3, just anticipating this move a3, and then played the move knight d7, which is quite unusual. It's unusual to put the knight on d7. In general, that knight is coming to c6 normally. Yeah, I mean, here Leela against Komodo played very, very naturally. Also the move that I played, b4, bishop c7, g3. Now, in my game against Jonathan Rowson, actually, we got this position. He played knight f6, bishop g2, and then played h5. Real AlphaZero style there. But in the game Leela against Komodo, we got g3, and Komodo played the move b6. Bishop g2, castles, and now the move a6. Now Komodo didn't do that against Stockfish earlier in the Sufi, played the move bishop b7, rook b1, rook c8, just developing the rook and getting ready just to put the bishop back to a8. That was a very interesting plan. a6 is also very sensible. I mean, black's idea is to take on c5, try and free up entry squares for the knight, and of course this pawn on a6 holds back anything like knight b5, or more likely, b5, really activating those queenside pawns. So rook c1 takes, and this was really the type of structure that appealed to me, and the reason why I selected it for the Sufi. I mean, the engines are not particularly assessing this as a big advantage for white, just a slight advantage. But I really felt that, with this sort of unbalanced structure, these white onrushing pawns, there was the opportunity for maybe some sudden switches in evaluation. So that seemed like, a nice thing to do for the super final. So Komodo played knight e5, bringing that knight into c4, and now Stockfish got its pawns rolling with a4, knight c4, queen d3. And, well, now a move that doesn't surprise us anymore, but I'm pretty sure, you know, still something like 4 or 5 years ago, it would have come as a real shock, would have looked pretty zany. And it's the move h5, using the rook's pawn. And again, you know, this is another example of how useful, you know, these moves are in terms of putting pressure points on the opponent's position. And, you know, you can just throw this rook's pawn up the board. It puts pressure on the opponent's king side. And, you know, if ever you lose this pawn, you don't really care because, you know, your king's still safe. You're not ruining anything at all. But yeah, simply you're going to find out, you know, in lots and lots of different variations, the fact that you've got this pressure point on the white king side makes a difference between a decent position and a loss. What, you know, it's sometimes hard to get your head around is, you know, can black really afford to just lose a couple of tempi like that? But yeah, looks like it's just it is actually possible, you know. So after h5, knight d4 was played, queen f6, and you're starting to see kind of the contours of the battle. I mean, you know, these pawns are really, really dangerous for white. I mean, they're once they get going, I mean, they're going to hit pieces on the way. You know, this one's maybe going to get pinned down to c8 by pawns on b5 and c6. However, the white dark squares, obviously the dark square bishop has been exchanged, are pretty weak, and black's got all sorts of ideas, you know, to attack these knights on d4, for example. So, you know, it's a really fraught position. And for example, if you go b5, then my engines were agreeing a quick draw here after knight d2, queen e3, knight c4, and it's very hard for white to get out of this constant attack, you know, when white's got to defend the knight on d4. So Stockfish took it nice and slowly with rook b1, covering that b2 square, h4, putting that pressure point on the king side, and now quite a shocking array of tactics starts. Again, b5 was quite interesting. We were looking at takes, bishop b7, and quite funny really. You just put this bishop on b7, like tempting the white pawns to advance. But after something like knight f3, rook a3, c6, bishop c8, black's claiming that, okay, this bishop on c8 is now completely restricted by these pawns on c6 and b5, but we've kind of stopped them, halted them, and this knight and c4, bishop on c7 can well, exploit the gaps that have been made. For example, this bishop can come to b6. So it's still a very, very sharp position, but most of my engine games here were ending in draws. But Leela in this position played the super sharp bishop takes d5. What a move. So the idea is e takes d5, knight takes d5, hitting the queen on f6, the knight on c4 is undefended, and we're also hitting the bishop on c7 for good measure. But after bishop d5, black's got this intermediate move, knight e5, hitting the queen on d3. And now we go queen e4, and at first sight, you know, this looks like black's badly miscalculated here, because if e takes d5, we again go knight d5, queen d8, we go knight takes c7, and after queen c7 we can simply take on a8. It looks incredibly dangerous, you know, bishop b7, queen a7, you know, isn't there something about these light squares that you can do? But actually it's not dangerous at all, because you've got a very important resource here. After knight c6, you don't go knight c6 when queen c6 really is going to be curtains, but you just play queen b6, takes, knight takes d4, rook c7, getting out of all these forks, and obviously, you know, bishop on b7, the pawn coming round to b7. I mean, this is just going to be really, really dangerous for black. And yeah, there's plenty of attacks, but there's nothing decisive. So, but after queen e4, Komodo played the move rook b8. And this is a great one. It's just leaving, you know, leaving this bishop on d5 hanging in the air. Black will probably decide to capture it at some stage, maybe even play rook d8 first. And yeah, the white pieces are just very, very awkward here. Yeah, you can do a number of things. One great idea that I really liked was rook d1, rook d8. This was a game Stockfish against Dragon. And now, can you guess the white move? It was bishop a8. What a move. Yeah, I mean, you really want to try and keep control of this diagonal, not allow the bishop on b7 a free idea. But after bishop a8, well, black goes h3. And yeah, this rook's pawn again proving so useful. Just tying the king down, and there's all sorts of threats along the light squares. I mean, it turned out all right for white, sort of, but still, I mean, this for a human, this would be a very, very confusing position to deal with. Another idea was to go bishop a2, but then we were getting this lovely idea: bishop b7, c6 looks good, just blocking this diagonal. But then bishop b6, and the idea is that you're just threatening bishop d4 when queen d4 allows knight f3. So okay, we lose our light squared bishop, but we start getting huge dark squared pressure against the white king side. So you can see how dangerous the position is. So actually, Leela's plan was not to move that bishop on d5, just to leave it there and start going with the queenside pawn. It's incredible play. I mean, really amazingly complicated. I mean, the engine valuations sort of were giving it away, really, that this is kind of a balanced position. But if you didn't have the evaluations, then you just have no clue what's happening in this position. So takes, two connected passed pawns. We're cubbing with b6. And now the rather surprising e takes d5, knight d5, queen d8. And yeah, just intuitively, it just seems rather incredible to me that, yeah, that black can sort of survive in this sort of situation. I mean, also just remember, if this knight moves away from e5, then we've got even moves like knight c6, forking queen and rook. So, I mean, just everything is hanging. There is one key resource which you've got to see as black very, very early. It's that after b6, we play the move f5. Just hitting this this knight on d5, and well, yeah, I mean, this queen was in an ideal position defending both these knights. If the queen moves away, then knights are going to be hanging here. B takes c7, takes, f takes c4, takes, knight e7, knight c8, rook d4 was one game which soon ended in a draw for between Stockfish and Dragon 3. And yeah, I mean, white's big problem is that the king is rather restricted, and if you don't watch out, black's just going to start coming in with these moves, which is really, really dangerous. So yeah, plenty of good possibilities here for black to defend. And well, if you took time out to take this pawn, I'd just go rook c4 and pick up the c5 pawn. So Leela had another idea, and that was this very sharp move f4. So what's the idea? Well, if the knight moves away, something like this, we can go knight c6, and yeah, big troubles for white, for black rather. But after f4, we've got this move f5 again. Again, just chasing away, the queen from this ideal position, defending both knights. And now things are getting really, really sharp. So queen g2. And now bishop b7. I think the idea was, h3 was the move that I was really thinking about. But white's got this surprising switch, queen a2, when we're still protecting the knight, and now we've actually got some, well, discovered checks threatened as well, which could be very unpleasant. So after f5, queen g2, black plays bishop b7. Why is that a problem? We just go c6 here, blocking the line of the bishop, and we're still attacking the knight on e5. But, well, blacks, you really see in all these tactical episodes that, well, black's just got to be an expert at finding the gaps in white's attacking front. And, well, when the pawn moves to c6, it's suddenly the dark squares that are weak, and black has this opportunity for bishop b6, hitting that loose knight on d4 that's no longer defended by a queen on e4. So f takes e5, bishop d4 check, king h1, and bishop a8. But the position after e6 is still really, really sharp. I mean, I did actually think that white was going to be much better here. These pawns are shutting out the bishop on a8. That's virtually useless. And we're going to get e7. And, we can also do stuff like, rook d1, hitting this bishop. Where's it going to go? We're going to get a discovered attack against the queen. And, at some stage, there might even be the possibility of c7. So, looks very, very dangerous. But, yeah, the engine's just kept on going. Rook e8. e7, queen d6. G takes h4 from white, and getting rid of that pawn is quite nice because, well, now also the G file is open. So if we can knock this bishop away from d4, well, we might just get some huge pressure on the G file as well. Target the black king. And here black had a number of possibilities. Now in my games between Stockfish and Dragon and Stockfish on my 94 thread machine, we were getting this idea, bishop f2, which I really liked. Obviously queen f2 allows queen d5, and the idea is simply that we go bishop takes h4 and then play bishop e7 to get rid of the of the pawn. Yeah, I mean the games were continuing quite wildly. Rook g1. I mean this is a big attack against the G file here. Rook b4. We're just coming in with our rooks here. Queen e5. Just looking to swap off queens, and then we're going to be able to take the knight afterwards. And now this move, rook g7, queen g7, rook g4, and hilariously enough, Stockfish and Komodo agreed to draw here in this position. Yeah, one of those tricky things. Looks like after rook b5, takes, queen d7, king f8, that black is basically just holding on. White's always got perpetuals, but it doesn't look like black's losing any pieces in the immediate term. But yeah, I mean, obviously this is just really crazy complicated still. Not for engines, but definitely for us. In this game, Komodo actually played a little bit more quietly. Actually just aimed to break up white's attacking front, just try and organise sacrificing a bishop for these two pawns and just getting some safety in that way. And bishop e5 was played, rook d1, queen c5, queen a2, and then astonishingly enough, bishop c6 is possible. It looks like, isn't there some great discovered attack? But of course, when you take on c6, this knight is pinned to the king on h1. And after takes, we take, and we go queen c6, and again, this pin is just stopping white from having a really amazing discovered attack. Now, there's one really nice little tactic here that happened. So rook e1, bishop f6, and then this amazing move, rook e6. The idea being to try and distract the black queen, and if queen e6, we go knight f6 check, attacking the queen. You've only got one move, but then I'm going to take, and knight e8, and look at that, white has won a piece. However, after rook e6, just imagine facing that in time trouble, queen c1, king g2, bishop d4 was possible, and of course the downside to rook e6 is that you've actually blocked this diagonal yourself, just like one striker getting in the way of another striker's shot, and there's no dangerous discovered attack there. So queen e2 was played, king f7, rook a6, and queen b2, and after this exchange of queens, the engines agreed a draw. I mean, actually, you're just going to take, and then you're just going to come back bishop f6 and take this pawn, and well, that's just going to be drawn. Probably white can pick up a pawn, but we'll have rook and 2 against rook at 1. It's not going to be much of a challenge. So there we are, a quite amazing game. I mean, I was always, obviously, you're slightly disappointed when you get 2 draws in an opening, but yeah, I mean, I thought this was an absolutely a wonderful game, and I mean, I love this unbalanced structure with onrushing queenside pawns, black a strong centre, and I was, quite amazed at how strong and how important this march of the rook's pawn again was. This, yeah, I mean, this strategical idea that really introduced by AlphaZero as just a brilliant long-term strategic idea in all sorts of positions. Pardon me, and of course, the tactics in the middle were just incredible after bishop d5. So there we are. Hope you enjoyed that game. If you liked the video, why not give a like, subscribe to the channel, take a look at my new book, The Silicon Road to Chess Improvement. And otherwise, thanks very much for watching the video, and hope to see you at the next one. Thanks for watching.